I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Burns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
Celebrating the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That was from ABC's Wide World of Sports. Now, I think a bunch of our listeners are actually old enough to remember that.
But it still applies to baseball, right?
Yeah, okay, sure. But we still stole it.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But today, though, we are certainly celebrating the thrill of victory more because today is part 3 of the career leaders in shutout percentage.
You think this will be the last part?
I hope so. I thought at first that this was going to be just one episode, you know.
But you keep getting sidetracked.
That I do, but there are only 8 guys left on the list.
Remind people of the criteria again.
The list is all those pitchers who threw shutouts in at least 10% of their career starts with a minimum of 40 shutouts.
And there were 26 guys on the list, right?
Yeah, 26.
How many did you manage to cover in part 2?
5.
And if that was the longest episode of the season
It was
so far,
the
right?
longest episode so far.
Good luck finishing it today, I guess.
Okay, thanks. But so I'm going to jump right into it then. Number 19 on the list is, to me, one of the bigger surprises on the list, Bucky Walters.
Really? Nah, I would not have guessed him.
If I had maybe 200 guesses, I might have said his name, but maybe not anyhow, because he played his career in such a high offense environment.
He won the MVP in what, 1939?
Yeah, he was one of the Reds' 2 aces that year. In 1939, they went to the World Series for the first time since 1919, when they won over the crooked Black Sox. Those 2 were only the second and third times Cincinnati won a pennant since they did so in their first season as a major league team in 1882 in the American Association.
That's more agony of defeat than thrill of victory.
It is, and it wasn't until the Big Red Machine in the 70s that they made the postseason regularly. In fact, they made the postseason 6 times in the 1970s, after just 4 times from 1882 to 1969. After finishing in last place in the National League in 1937, from 1938 to 1944, they were a really good team, winning pennants in 1939 and 1940, and winning 100 games and the World Series in 1940.
Did that period coincide with Walter's best years?
It very much did. Now, hey, here's a fun side note before I get back to Walters, okay, well, you'll see what it's about in a minute. I stayed up all night in Stockholm with a couple of friends back in 2018, watching the longest game in World Series history when the Dodgers beat the Red Sox 3-2 in 18 innings.
Sounds exciting.
It was not exciting by 6 a.m. we wanted I literally wanted anyone to score and end it. We've been watching it. Well, anyway, that game lasted 7 hours and 20 minutes. Here's the fun fact. The entire 1939 World Series, all 4 games, as the Yankees swept the Reds, lasted 7 hours and 5 minutes. So shorter than that game.
Oh, wow. And how did Bucky Walters do?
He lost Game 2 when the Reds were shut out 4-0. And then in Game 4, on 3 days' rest, he came in relief in the 8th with a 4-2 lead, and he gave up 2 runs to let the Yankees tie it up in the 9th. And then in the 10th, with 1 out and Frankie Crosetti on second, King Kong Keller hit a grounder to short, which was misplayed by shortstop Billy Myers. So with guys on first and third, Joe DiMaggio is up, and he singles to right. Now, Cincinnati really chokes here. They made no errors in the first 3 games of the series, but 4 this day, including Ivel Goodman bobbling the ball from DiMaggio, so Crosetti scores, and then Keller comes round to home, and he barrels into Cincinnati catcher and Hall of Famer Ernie Lombardi, beating the delayed throw from Goodman to also score. However, the collision temporarily knocked Lombardi for a loop. Apparently, this is what I've read, right? Okay. Apparently, Keller hit Lombardi in the groin, and he was not wearing his athletic supporter. Ooh. And in a play that has gone down in history as Lombardi's big snooze, he was dazed long enough with the ball just sitting there beside him for DiMaggio to also score. And Lombardi also got an error called on himself.
Double ouch. Double ouch. Yeah. So Yankees scored, 3?
Yeah. And though the Reds got 2 singles in the bottom of the 10th, Johnny Murphy shut them down, and the Yankees won the series. The press was merciless on Lombardi as the series GOAT.
But that's not fair. The Yankees had already scored the go-ahead run even without Keller or DiMaggio scoring. That sounds like bullshit to me.
In the historical baseball abstract, which is just plain awesome, Bill James writes, this is a quote, Lombardi was now the Bill Buckner of the 1930s. even more innocent than Buckner, and Buckner has plenty of people who should be holding up their hands to share his disgrace.
Again, that's just not fair, not in the spirit of the game, you could say.
The thing is, Lombardi was an especially kind and sensitive guy, so he really took this to heart, which really sucks for one of the best hitting catchers of all time, who won 2 batting titles and the 1938 MVP.
Yeah, that really does suck. Are we going to talk about Lombardi one day?
I do have an episode in the works for great hitting catchers, and we'll get to him then. But now, can I get back to Bucky Walters?
You're never going to finish the shutout list at this rate.
Thank you. Okay. Walters won the MVP in 1939, as I said, winning the pitching Triple Crown, going 27-11 with a 2.29 ERA and 137 strikeouts.
You forget how low league-leading strikeout totals could be back then.
Well, as we talked about in the Sluggers of the 1930s episode, there was loads of hitting going on, but not loads of slugging and swinging from the heels and taking the all or nothing, homer or strikeout, taking that approach.
Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Was he a unanimous MVP?
He was not, actually. A couple other guys got votes, but here's something funny. Okay, 3 Reds, Walters, pitcher Paul Derringer, and first baseman Frank McCormick finished first, third, and fourth in the MVP voting, with Cardinal Johnny Mize second. In 1940, the Reds trio would again finish first, third, and fourth in the MVP voting, McCormick winning, and Walters and Derringer third and fourth, with Johnny Mize again coming in second.
I was wondering if you were going to mention Paul Derringer. He and Walters go together, right?
They sure do. The twin Reds aces. In 1939, Derringer was 25-7 to lead the league in winning percentage to complement Walters. They won 52 games together and both topped 300 innings pitched.
We've said this a bunch of times over this podcast, but that is a great 1-2 punch.
They won 43 games together in 1940, with Walters leading the league again in wins and ERA. But those two also go together from a rags to riches perspective.
You're going to have to explain that to me.
Okay, I'll take Derringer first.
Okay.
He was a rookie in 1931 with the World Series winning Cardinals, going 18-8 to lead the league back then in winning percentage, even then, though he got tagged with 2 losses in the series. But after a mediocre 1932 and 2 poor starts beginning 1933, he was traded to the Reds. The Reds were not good. They finished last in 1933 and 1934. And Paul Derringer went 7-25 for them in 1933. 25
losses in a season is brutal.
27. He had those 2 losses before being traded. He had 27 losses.
Who is it that we mentioned last time who had the 20th century record?
Vic Willis. Glad you remember.
Okay.
He had 29 losses in 1904. This is actually second. This is 20th century second, right?
So Derringer had both a 25-win season and a 25-loss season.
Yeah.
How many 20th century guys have actually managed that feat?
3. Walter Johnson, Vic Willis, and Paul Derringer. And that's it.
Is Paul Derringer on the shutout list?
He is not, and yet here we are talking about him. Derringer's ERA that year was better than league average despite the losses, and he then went 15 wins and 21 losses in 1934, but then had the first of his 4 20-win seasons with the Reds in 1935, winning 22 games. He went to the Cubs after the Reds in 1943, and he left the majors after their pennant-winning 1945 season. And in that season, at the age of 38, he went 16-11 and played in his 4th World Series with his 3rd team.
Obligatory go Cubs there, but 16-11 and then retired?
Well, he was 38, and all the guys who'd been away at war were coming back. I don't actually know otherwise why either he wanted to retire or no one wanted to sign him. He played a year of AAA ball in 1946, so I'm guessing he didn't want to retire. But now, back to his partner in crime, Bucky Walters, who was also rags to riches.
All right, let's hear it.
In a second, after this. See, I actually put in a break.
Yeah, nice.
Searching for a romantic summer getaway? Escape with Rich Girl Summer, the new Audible original from Lily Chu. The exquisitely talented Philippa Sue, returning to narrate her 5th Lily Chu title. This time, Philippa is joined by her real-life husband, Stephen Pasquale. Set in Toronto's wealthy cottage country, aka the Hamptons of Canada, Rich Girl Summer follows the story of Valerie, a down-on-her-luck event planner posing as a socialite's long-lost daughter. while piecing together the secrets surrounding a mysterious family and falling deeper and deeper in love with the impossibly hard-to-read and infuriatingly handsome family assistant, Nico. Caught between pretending to belong and unexpectedly finding where she truly fits in, Valerie learns her summer is about to get far more complicated than she ever planned. She's in over her head and head over heels. Listen to Rich Girl Summer now on Audible. Go to audible.com/richgirlsummer.
Bucky Walters led the league in losses with 21 for the 1936 Phillies, who lost 100 games and came in last. In 1938, he started the season 4-8 with a 5.23 ERA for the Phillies, and even for them, that wasn't very good. So he was traded to the Reds, and boom, they suddenly have one of the best pitchers in the majors who would win the Triple Crown the following season.
So when we're talking about Bucky Walters and Paul Derringer, it really is the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Sure, I guess that's the theme. Sure, yes, it is. Sure, yeah, actually, it really is. Walters last pitched for the Reds in 1948, and then he had one appearance with the Braves in 1950.
Neither of them are in the Hall of Fame, right?
No, neither of them are. Walters won 198 career games, and he had a career ERA plus of 116, which is better than a bunch of Hall of Famers. And he was a 6-time All-Star, but I don't think he makes the cut, really. And he didn't have all that many full seasons.
Okay.
Derringer did win 223 career games and was also a 6-time All-Star, but he also lost 212 games, so he played for some bad teams.
Yeah.
And he was a workhorse, though, okay, either might be a marginal call, but I think there are more deserving guys from that era.
How many shutouts did Walters have?
I forgot about that. That's why we're talking about him. Bucky Walters pitched 42 shutouts and 398 games started, 10.55 shutout percentage.
And who is next on the list? What is it, number 20?
Yeah. And number 20 is a guy you think of when you think of shutouts, Don Drysdale.
Of course, he had the record 8 consecutive shutouts with 58 straight scoreless innings.
Yeah, we talked about him in episode 2. And I believe I also mentioned during the 1973 Cy Young Award episode while talking about Wilbur Wood that Wood and Drysdale are the only guys post-1900 to start 40 or more games in a season 5 times.
That you did.
Drysdale had 49 career shutouts in 465 games started for a 10.54 career shutout percentage. You know who's number 21 on the list?
Wait, you're not going to talk more about Drysdale?
He's going to come up in several episodes.
All right,
So I'm trying to move. I'm trying to do this.
Okay, we're moving. Okay, who's number 21?
Number 21 is another guy that I would never guess, and I mean never guess, and he played from 1897 to 1912. No. Jack Powell.
Never heard of him.
Jack Powell never played for a team that won the pennant, and he had a career losing record. In fact, in his career, he lost 255 games, which is number 8 all time, and the most ever lost by someone with a losing record. He won 245. He also, in 16 seasons, never lost fewer than 10 games in a season, but he was an easy-throwing workhorse who topped 300 innings pitched regularly. He pitched as many as 390 in a season. Fun fact, he did not lead the league the season he pitched 390 innings.
390 is a workhorse. He's eating innings, so who did lead the league?
That was in 1904 when Happy Jack Cheeseborough won 41 games and pitched 454 innings. Another fun fact, Cheeseborough and Powell were teammates that year in New York, and Powell's 23 wins made a total of their 1-2 punch of 64 wins between the two.
Oh, wow. Is that a 20th century record?
Actually, that same year in the National League, Christy Mathewson and Iron Man McGinnity combined for 68 wins for the Giants. However, the Giants won the pennant. New York famously lost the pennant on the last day of the season on either a Cheeseborough wild pitch or a passed ball, depending who you believe. Although in reality, they had been a half game up over Boston with 4 games to play, all against Boston, and they dropped the first 3 of them to put them out of contention. So that's not really fair to blame.
No.
And that incident happened in the third one of those games. Hey, another fun fact.
You keep shooting from the hip.
Both Powell and Cheeseborough began 1905 with sore arms.
Why am I not surprised?
Both of them would bounce back to a large extent, but you know who didn't?
Who?
Boston's 5 pitchers in 1904.
They used 5?
They used only 5. This is the 20th century. This is not like the 1800s. They used only 5 guys. Only 5 guys ever appeared on the mound for Boston in their pennant-winning season in 1904, and they would relieve each other. So they had 148 complete games in 157 games. There were 3 ties. Even more fun fact, 2 years later, none of those pitchers were effective. And only Cy Young himself from those 5 bounced back with top seasons.
Okay, so 1904 is a lesson on how to not overwork your pitching arms, essentially.
It is indeed. And here is a Jack Powell anecdote, okay?
Go for it.
He came up with the Cleveland Spiders in 1897, and his first appearance was at first base on Sunday, May 16th. Now, Sunday baseball was illegal in Cleveland at that time, but Frank Robeson, the Cleveland owner, he scheduled the game anyhow. The powers that be were not bluffing, though, and the local police stormed the field after the first inning. All the players and the umpire were arrested, but released on $100 each bail. However, one player was to be prosecuted to test the strength of the law. Well, Powell was just an unknown rookie, so he was the one, and the rest of the team went on a road trip while he awaited trial in Cleveland.
Not cool and incredibly unfair.
No, and in June, Jack Powell was convicted of playing baseball on a Sunday and fined $5 plus well over $100 in court costs.
The price you pay to set yourself up for a fine career full of shutouts.
A fine career full of shutouts. He had that. Actually, after 1909, his career record was 209 and 191, a winning record, 200. But he finished his career with some awful St. Louis Browns teams. And despite having an ERA that was better than the league average every one of those years, he went 36 and 64.
Painful.
Yeah.
What's his shutout percentage like?
Okay, I'm going to have to disappoint you here, Burns. See, when I first made this list, Powell had 46 shutouts, but I erroneously credited him with 438 games started, which was 10.5%. But when I was going over the math, and one should always go over the math,
Always.
I realized it was wrong, and he doesn't actually belong on this list.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
He actually had 516 total starts, which makes 9%, so he doesn't belong on the list. But I really wanted to talk about Jack Powell, so I left him on the list anyhow. But he's not actually number 21.
Okay, so then the list is a nice even 25, not 26.
Sure, you can look at it that way. Yeah, okay.
Who's next on the list? Who's the real number 21?
The real number 21 is another guy I just would never have guessed. Actually, even if I had 250 guesses,
Okay.
Larry French.
Okay, Larry French, I think I've at least heard of him.
Larry French, yeah, well, he's a little more recent, yeah. He also had his career in the live ball era, and that was his entire career, not wartime or post-war years like Walter's.
Okay.
French pitched from 1929 to 1942, and he had exactly 40 shutouts in 383 starts, which is 10.44%. In fact, his final season, while he had 38 total appearances, because he always did starting and relieving, he managed 4 shutouts in 14 starts.
Oh, wow. Why did he stop pitching? Was he too old? Or?
No, he was 34, but then he was away with the Navy during the war, and that was it.
All right, tell me about this guy.
I will right after this.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Larry French pitched in the majors from 1929 to 1942, mainly with the Pirates and the Cubs, but finished with the Dodgers. He is often overlooked when you think about the early and mid-1930s National League because of guys like Carl Hubble and Dizzy Dean.
Neither of whom are on this list, if I am going to stick my neck out and assume correctly.
You are correct. Although Dean would be on the list if we were using fewer starts and fewer shutouts, but shorter career.
Okay.
French was not quite at their level of awesomeness,
Yeah.
but he was very good, especially his workhorse years the first half of his career, when only those two had more wins than he did over those 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
He was from California originally, and he relied on a screwball, much like Hubble, and he was very much known as a sharp-dressed man. Nice. And he was also a real hothead, from what I've read. And Fred Lieb, whose old books about different teams everybody should read, writes in his book, The Pittsburgh Pirates, that French had a real temper and once almost started the war 10 years before Pearl Harbor.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, have you ever heard of the Herb Hunter tours?
Nope.
Herb Hunter, as a baseball player, appeared in 39 total games over 4 seasons between 1916 and 1921, never really making the cut. Okay. However, in 1920, he organized the first of 3 barnstorming tours of Japan, bringing over both major and minor league players, the Hunter All-Americans.
Okay.
This went well, so he did one with more major leaguers in 1922, and then he did his most impressive one in 1931, which had loads of stars, and even some of the best players of all time, like Lefty Grove and Lou Gehrig, they were there, and also had star pitcher Larry French. Fred Lieb was apparently also involved in organizing this last one, which was in November and December 1931.
Okay, what did French do?
Well, the Japanese All-Stars knocked him out of the box in the 7th inning in one of the games. So apparently, French began storming around the field, screaming like racist stuff at all the Japanese players. So this was early in his career. And, okay, I don't know of like lots more stories like this, so maybe he settled down, or maybe I just don't know them.
Yeah.
Right? After the Pirates, he was a solid part of the Cubs' pennant-winning 1935 and 1938 squads, and he saved the best for last in 1942 when he went 15-4 with a 1.83 ERA with those 4 shutouts, and the last of them, the last start of his career, as it turned out, was his only career one-hitter.
Sad that he didn't get to continue that, especially with that shutout, right?
Well, he had added a knuckleball to his repertoire that final year, which he learned from Freddie Fitzsimmons. So, he was at his best. And he had 197 career wins, just 3 shy of a milestone that, does help people get Hall of Fame consideration. Thing is, he was stationed in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and he pitched with a Brooklyn semi-pro team on weekends, and even worked out with the Dodgers sometimes, but the Navy denied his request to play part-time for the Dodgers during his service, partly so he could get win number 200, but that was that.
What did he do after he left the Navy?
When did I say he left the Navy?
He didn't?
Nope. First he went to Europe, and he was involved in the invasion of Normandy, and he served in both the European and Pacific theaters, and then he went into the Naval Reserve, being recalled to active duty in 1951 in Korea, and he retired as a captain in 1969.
That's quite an interesting and full life.
It sure is, and he threw enough shutouts to make this list.
And there's, 4 guys left on this list?
Yep, and the next one goes all the way back to the beginning of the National League, and then some. The winner of the 1877 pitching Triple Crown, the great Tommy Bond.
An oldie, but a goldie.
Very, very much so. He also helped develop the role of the pitcher. For example, in his Sabre bio page, there's a quote about Bond's style already in 1875 in the National Association, the year before the National League began play. The pitcher's arm was supposed to be perpendicular to the ground. However, quote, by 1875, Hartford's Tommy Bond was living at the edge of the rule by throwing low sidearm with tremendous speed.
A fast bowler.
Very much so. And that quote is actually from John Thorne, who also reports elsewhere. Quote, Tommy Bond began to raise his sidearm delivery slightly above his waist, and it was only a matter of time before anything goes became the standard. Pitchers' motions were creeping up to a 3/4 from the shoulder style in the early 1880s. That's the end of the quote. But in 1875, Bond split the main pitching duties for Hartford with Candy Cummings, who is generally considered the inventor of the curveball, though there's a lot to unpack when you get to talking about who done it.
Which we will cover one day.
Which we will, for sure. Okay. In 1876, with Hartford now in the National League, Bond was the team ace. However, he didn't pitch from September 5th on, since he was suspended after accusing third baseman and team captain Bob Ferguson of throwing a game. He was asked to provide proof, and I guess he couldn't. So Cummings, who had pitched only 4 games at that point, went the rest of the season. Hartford finished second. Then Bond went to Boston and reeled off 3 brilliant 40-plus win seasons as Boston finished first, and second. Fun fact, I love the fun facts today.
Yes.
The young Will White, though a year older than Bond, was Bond's backup in 1877 before going and starring with Cincinnati.
What happened to Bond?
Well, the same thing that happened to all those guys, overuse.
Yeah.
In 1879, Bond was 23, and he pitched 6 full Major League seasons. He was 43-19 that year, with 11 shutouts and a league-leading, retroactively, 196 ERA. Then in 1880, he had a losing record with a worse-than-league average ERA, and he tried comebacks the next couple years, and that didn't work. In 1884, he managed to go 13-9 in the Union Association with Boston, and then mid-season he went to the American Association and went 0-5 with a 5.65 ERA, which kind of shows how weak the Union Association was compared to the NL and the AA.
Those guys really crammed a lot of innings into short careers, though.
Tell me about it. Those 3 great years from Bond, 1,608 innings in 3 years, and 360 complete games thrown before the age of 25.
Wow, we won't see that again. We've really been jumping around the timeline with the list today. Are the other 3 guys all from different eras as well?
They are not, actually. Their heydays were the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And their careers crossed over each other. Okay, remember last time we had career Yankee Mel Stottlemyre on the list.
I recall.
Right. Well, here's another one. Whitey Ford is next on the list with 45 shutouts and 438 games started for 10.27% of his starts. He had something else in common with Stottlemyre. They were both mid-season rookie arrivals that very much helped pitch their teams to the pennant. Ford went 9-1 with a 2.81 ERA when he began pitching for the Yanks in July 1950.
Did they have Rookie of the Year back then?
Yeah. They remember Jackie Robinson won the first in 1950.
That's right.
Which is now called the Jackie Robinson Award, too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but it was for both major leagues combined in 47 and 48, and then from 1949, each league had its own.
So did Whitey Ford win it in 1950?
He did not, and nor did he really deserve to. Boston rookie Walt Dropo hit .322, rookie, with 34 homers and a major league leading 144 RBI as a rookie in 1950. That RBI total, though, was actually tied with teammate Vern Stevens. Those Red Sox could flat out hit. They hit .302.
Wow.
As a team that year.
Wow.
That is the last major league team to have a 300 average. And that was 1950. That's 75 years ago. And the only one in the National League or American League since 1936. And shortstop Stevens and second baseman Bobby Doerr, who led the league in triples, were the only regulars who hit below 300, and they hit .295 and .294. Utility man Billy Goodman led the majors in hitting at .354.
How'd the team do?
They finished third, 4 games behind the Yankees, just 4 games behind the Yankees, and 1 behind the Tigers. They were only 1 game out of first on September 18th, but they faded. The Tigers were actually in first for a big chunk of the season and were tied for first as late as September 21st, but they too could not hold it. A 5-game Yankee winning streak, sealed the deal, with Whitey Ford winning the first and the 5th of those games. But all 3 of those were really good teams, though.
Why have I never heard of this Walt Dropo, if he's so good, if he was that good as a rookie?
Well, because he was only ever that good as a rookie.
Okay.
He had a couple other fairly good years, but nothing close to that. He was never again an all-star after his rookie season.
Okay, but that's a good sidetrack nonetheless.
Yeah, it was. And I'm not going to get into Whitey Ford that much today since there are other topics he shall feature in, and I can talk about him more then. And I also really want to finish the list. The final 2 guys.
All right, let's hear it. The final countdown.
Okay.
Let's go.
With a 10.19 career shutout percentage, 53 shutouts in 521 games started, Jim Palmer is next on the list. Palmer had as many as 10 shutouts in a season, and he had 5 or more in a season 6 times.
You know, even though he gets mentioned in a few of these episodes, and sure, he was a Hall of Famer, I never saw him as that dominant, but 5+ shutouts in a season 6 times. How many times did Bob Gibson do that?
5. 1 fewer than Jim Palmer.
Okay, that's amazing.
Here's something even more amazing. Okay, Palmer retired in 1984, right? That's the opposite of Tommy Bond. Tommy Bond's the oldest player on the list, and Palmer's the most recent one.
Okay.
But after 1978, he retired in 84. After 1978, which was his last real superstar year, he only threw 2 more shutouts total, both in 1982 when his 15-5 record got him second in the Cy Young voting.
So if he's done like Koufax in 1966 and retired after 1978, how would his percentage have been?
See, I looked that up.
Okay.
I plan ahead, right?
Okay.
After 1978, he had 51 shutouts already, since he had 53.
Okay.
And he only had 2 more. 51 shutouts already, and 398 games started, which would have put him at 12.8%, slightly ahead of Sandy Koufax.
Okay, that speaks volumes about Palmer's prime, though.
It sure does.
Wow.
And
Okay.
now we come to the final guy on the list, number 25, unless you give Powell a break like I almost did. A guy who, like Bob Gibson, had 5 seasons of 5 or more shutouts, and like Jim Palmer, played into the 1980s, retiring in 1982, Louis Tiant.
El Tiante.
None other. Tiant threw 49 shutouts in 484 career starts for a 10.12 percentage.
Is there anyone in the world who doesn't like Louis Tiant?
Not that I'm aware of.
And he just passed away last year, right?
He sadly did. Oh, very quick sidetrack here. All right, okay. Now, Dave Parker just passed away some weeks ago before recording this.
Which is also sad.
Yeah, big part of my childhood, too. Loved Dave Parker, loved Cobra. But I mentioned Parker because, and I wanted to get this in, I discovered another baseball podcast that I like. I found a recent episode of theirs that leads off with Parker's passing, and it's called Romantic About Baseball. And I thought I'd give those guys a mention because why not?
Yeah.
You know? It's really good. I think it's fairly new. From what I understand from Apple Podcasts, they began putting stuff up about when we did ours. So, but anyhow, Romantic About Baseball. We'll check it out. Okay, back to Louis Tiant.
That crazy wind-up. Are there YouTube videos of it out there?
There must be. Okay, let's stop recording. Let's stop recording and let's check. Oh, yes, there are. Everyone, just search for Louis Tiant wind-up on YouTube and you will see it.
I love it.
Hey, I'm going to quote myself now, okay?
Okay.
I said way back in episode 2, and this is a quote, "These are some pitchers' stats at the start of July 1968.
Yes.
One guy was 13-5 with a 1.11 ERA and 7 shutouts. One guy was 10-4 with a 1.21 ERA and 7 shutouts. One guy was 9-5 with a 1.14 ERA and 5 shutouts."
Yeah, I recall. We
And
had
I'm
that
quoting
discussion.
myself because all 3 of those guys are on this shutout list.
Aha.
Louis Tiant, Don Drysdale, and Bob Gibson, in that order of pitchers I just said. And Tiant and Drysdale started the 1968 All-Star Game.
It's actually crazy to think that at that point in the season, Tiant was having a better year than Bob Gibson.
I know. In 1968. And Drysdale had just thrown 6 straight shutouts.
And that.
Okay, well, I have now, after 3 episodes, finished the list of career shutout percentage leaders.
I mean, this was a lot of fun, even though it was 3 episodes, but what you going to do? What are we going to talk about next time?
I got inspired when I mentioned Vern Stevens. So next time, I think we're going to do Sluggers of the 1940s, which is a very interesting decade because it's sort of in 3 parts because, the war splitting things up and all.
Yeah. Was Vern Stevens a major slugger of the 1940s?
He sure was. And as a shortstop, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So let's see. Okay, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll put shorts and things up there more and more often. And if you go to patreon.com and look for Baseball History Time Machine, you can help us out there so we can make more of these, and you'll get the episodes a day or 3 early, or sometimes many days early, whenever I edit it. I put it up there first before scheduling the regular release. And you'll be helping us out, because we want your money. We do, right?
Yes, we do.
We want our money. We want your money. We're capitalists.
We are.
No, we're not doing this because we're
we're not.
We're never gonna make a lot of money doing this.
No, we're not.
Okay, all right. Well, for today, that is it from me, Indy Neidell.
And me, Burns.
And the Baseball History Time Machine.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.